But welcome in, everyone. Just let me know. Do you have any code questions, or do you have any just questions in general? And we'll chat. So yeah, 11 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but that's what it is. What's up, Marquez? Welcome in. Yeah, it's currently 7:14 a.m. for me. All right, I'm gonna switch the camera around. It's early morning. I don't know what I look like. Let's see. I guess I look all right. Welcome in. Oh, I see, Pro Pretender. The headphones are in the other room. Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, I have some nice clothes on, so I'm not super cold. And it's only gonna get warmer because the sun is coming up. Though it is pretty overcast today. And Razorson, thank you for that sub. I appreciate that. But yeah, it's pretty overcast today. It actually just rained. It rained a little bit last night. And it's supposed to, I think we have like a 30% chance of rain at like 10 a.m. But for now, we're pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, the only scheduled stream for this week is the Friday stream. So Friday, I'll be doing listed. That's the only plan. And what's up, Mitzik? It's been a while. Glad to see you. Yeah. After you switch to front camera, we got a great view. Looking good. Are you saying that I don't look good, Timon? I know that's not what you're saying. Or at least you're making a joke about it. Or wait, I guess the front camera is me, so that's the great view? Cool. But yeah, anyone have any questions, thoughts, comments? I guess what are you all working on this week? What are you all excited about? Yeah, I appreciate that, Timon. No, I'm here with a bunch of friends. So I'm here with my wife, my dog, and then two former coworkers that I worked with like 4 years ago, and then one of my coworkers' partners. So we got a good group. They're typically the people that I go camping with, and I only go camping like once or twice a year. This year we're going twice, but the past few years we've only gone like once a year. And Timon, thank you for that Prime. Appreciate you. I saw an eagle this morning. So I recorded a bunch of footage over the past 2 days that I'm going to edit into a YouTube video. And earlier I was on a hike, and I saw an eagle. I got it on video, but it was really high up, like perched on the top of a big rock. So I didn't see it that close, but I did see an eagle today, which is cool. I also saw a rabbit, and I saw a deer. Saw some chipmunks, and crows, and other types of birds too. What is the what and the what why? The what of why? I don't know, Vinio. I don't know what you mean by that. Please clarify. Actually, my campsite is across the water. It's over there. Basically, all the way to like over there are like campsites. There's like 60 campsites, and then the other half of the lake is just like a trail. And so where I'm at right now, there aren't any campsites. No, I don't fish. There's a lot of fishermen I see out here. Also, a lot of kayaking and boats. We didn't bring anything like that. But I think I would want to, because there's lots of cool little like alcoves to explore, and like being able to explore these rocks. Like my wife was mentioning it yesterday. It's like these rocks. I mean, it's not the best view on this camera, but these rocks are like the kind of thing you see at like an amusement park, you know, but they're fake. But these are real rocks in the middle of this lake. And then like way out there, there's a really cool rock formation. It kind of looks like 3 stacked rocks. But yeah, nature's cool. I like nature. But no, I haven't fished in a very long time. I don't have any. I'd have to get fishing gear if I wanted to. Look at these rocks. Listen, these are some cool rocks. You can't tell me they're not. And honestly, let's make it interesting. So I'm gonna pack up my chair. And we'll see if we get signal out towards this rock formation, because there's even more rocks. Yeah, and what's up, Oscar? Yes, Commander Riker, we were specifically cosplaying Season 6, Episode 4. So yeah, we went back in time. The Neo says, nature is the reason I moved from the big city. Yeah. I'm contemplating it. It's not, in the area that I live, it's not that affordable. And we would just miss so much of the comforts of living in a city. Like being close to a hospital, being close to a grocery store, being able to literally get anything delivered to your house that you want. Like most of the time within a day. Really good food that's easily accessible. Good nightlife and shows. There's a lot of good things about living in a city, but there's also a lot of good things about like living out in nature as well. Panzer's sleeping. He's in the tent across the way there. All right, I'm gonna pack up my chair and then we're gonna do like a tiny hike to some more rock formations. And maybe if we have signal, I think I can see the eagle from here. Yeah, if we have signal, we'll walk over to where that eagle is too. And hey, Razorson, yeah, ask your question. We're just gonna walk. Welcome in, everyone. We are hiking, I guess? It's not quite a hike, it's really just a walk around the lake. But it's really nice. We'll explore all these little areas as well. Feel free to ask me any question. It could be a code question. It could just be life advice. Happy to answer. Yeah, I have these little wind muffs on my phone, so the wind should be tolerable. Like, you'll hear it, but it's not like that horrible wind sound like when it hits a microphone. So Razorson asks, it's a big question. I want to make an app for the company I'm working for, and I honestly want to test out new frameworks and technologies, but I'm a bit confused since many different new things are coming out every day. I'm used to Vue 2, Laravel, and MySQL, so anything other than them is new for me. What do you suggest I use? Help me out here. And what's up, Amasil? Says, I think I missed quite a lot of your streams. How have you been? I've been good. Welcome in. thanks for dropping by. Okay, so Razorson, to your question, yeah, I think you basically just have to think about what are your goals for this app, right? Like if you specifically want to build something fairly quickly that works really well, and that because you already know all of those technologies that you mentioned, you don't have to figure a lot of things out because you've already used a lot of them before. I would say go with that solution, right? Like that's basically my mentality these days. Is like the things I build with what I know because I'm proficient in them, right? Anything that's new to me is going to take me longer to figure out, take me longer to integrate with various other things that I'm not used to. So that's the thing that you're up against. But if your goal is, well, not only do I want to build this thing, I also want to try out something like Next.js or an Express backend or whatever other tech you want to test out. Like, if that's your goal, and the goal is to not only build something, also learn something new, go for it. But a lot of times, if you just want to get something done, and you want to get it done right in terms of, like, because you've built similar things before and you know what it entails, just stick to what you know. Yeah, so I think that's really what you need to consider is your main goal to use new things, or is your main goal to build something useful right now? And I guess by right now I mean more quickly than having to learn something new. And what's up, Siraj, who says, React versus Angular versus Vue. They all offer very different things, and we can also add Svelte in the mix. But let's start with React. React has been around the longest of the four: React, Angular, Vue, and Svelte. And because of that, there is a huge ecosystem of libraries, also a huge amount of resources of people that have built things with React, and people that are still building things with React that are willing to help you with what you're building with React, and like new libraries and everything else. So like React, people choose React because of the ecosystem. Now, if you start to talk about like developer experience, I honestly don't like the developer experience of React because it's typically very manual and cumbersome, in that everything you do, you typically have to write a little bit more code to do. And you have to fit all of it into their idea of functional components and hooks and immutable state updates. So those are the things that I actually don't like about React, but for a lot of people, that might have been the only front-end framework they ever learned. So to them, it's just like this. Well, what else is there? But I'm here to tell you that, for example, like Vue and Svelte, they make things so much easier. Like you don't have to manually declare your dependencies for like use effects. You don't have to do immutable state updates. They have lots of cool built-in ways of like binding data that don't require extra code. So like for me, like Vue and Svelte bring a lot to the developer experience that is missing with React. And that's why I like to. For the longest time, Vue was my favorite framework. These days, it's more so shifting to Svelte because that gets into the specifics of how apps actually get rendered and actually work when they're running in the web browser. But if you're just talking about developer experience, Svelte and Vue have a much better developer experience than React. The other thing that you might consider is if you're working in a large team and you need potentially consistency. And also you need like predefined opinions because you don't have to worry about making all those opinions yourself. And if that's the case, Angular is really good for that because Angular has Angular truly is a framework. Like React is more a library than it is a framework. Vue is a bit more of a framework than a library, and Angular is a true framework. And then Svelte would probably fit into the same place as Vue. But Angular gives you concepts that help you structure your application, like basically like architect your front end app. So it gives you things like services and factories, and they have a very specific opinion about your folder structure and how you group together your component template and your component script code and various other things like that. So Angular is extremely opinionated, and it basically makes you write organized, structured code. Sort of. It's possible to write spaghetti code with Angular. It's possible to write code that isn't more organized with Angular, but there are things in how it basically forces you to do things that make it so that most of the time your code is a bit more organized by default. Like, you don't have to make those choices yourself. Now, it's completely possible to have a well-organized React app or a well-organized Vue or Svelte app, but it's completely up to you. And if you work with a team of developers that is not, if not disciplined and also not experienced in working in large code bases, you can end up with some really spaghetti code and really hard to navigate and really hard to work in code bases. So Angular kind of like gives you that guarantee of like, most of the time things are going to be where you expect them to be. And like if you've worked in one Angular app, you've worked in most Angular apps. Yeah, and then Vue and Svelte, they have like a few opinions. Like a lot of people point to the idea of SFCs or single file components, which you're kind of forced to use with Vue and Svelte. I say kind of because technically with Vue you can make it work where you define components with JSX in a single file if you really wanted to. But I do think single file components force people to write a slightly more organized code than if you were in a React code base. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that. And I'm gonna stop talking about it now because I could talk about it forever, and I've missed a lot of questions too. So thanks for your question, Suraj. And Razorson says, that's the question we answered earlier about should you use the stack that you know or should you learn something new? So Razorson says, I'm not hired as a developer. I'm just helping them with some tools that they want to build mostly to gather data and display them on a dashboard. So yeah, I would, and maybe you have some comments down below, but it's like, if you just want to get it done, use what you know. And Malorth TV says, it's my second day of vacation while my GF is still working, so I practice coding next to a sleeping puppy on the couch. Async is kicking my butt currently, taking me 2 to 3 years of on and off practice to get here. Well, congrats! I mean, thanks. Congrats on sticking with it and getting it done, because that's not easy to do. And I also like coding with my sleepy puppy on the couch, so that's awesome. And Amastil says, I think I've heard about using Svelte with Laravel. You should try it out. I've heard good things. I haven't heard of that, but it would make sense, because yeah, Laravel adopted using Vue as their primary, like if you're doing like front end and back end stuff, Laravel has like a project scaffolding thing that integrates Vue. So I imagine eventually somebody would do Svelte. Yeah. And then yeah, Oscar has that component party website, which I will actually say it's fine. There are some examples on that website that just aren't correct. Because I will say it is hard to demonstrate things in isolation, which is basically what they're trying to do on Component Party. But there's actually some broken code that if you were to paste it into a React app, it would cause an infinite loop on their page. And then also, like, I made a PR a while back, basically just talking about how a computed property in Svelte and in Vue is very different than just having an embedded expression in some JSX. And the maintainer of that library, he basically thought I was arguing about performance, but my argument more so has to do with, like, equivalent implementations, because if you want a similar implementation in React, then you would use memo, because use memo allows you to memoize something, which is basically what a computed property is. But Component Party has a bunch of examples you can look. Basically, you're looking at the syntax and comparing potentially the dev experience of all of them, but that's just one aspect of choosing a front-end framework. You also have the ecosystem, you have like code structure and organization. There's a lot of other things you could think about when you're choosing a front-end framework. Yeah, and then Razorson says the goal is to learn something alongside it, but what? Nuxt, Next, SvelteKit, MongoDB Express, there's just a lot of solutions. Yeah, so, and I think that's the thing, like, if you, the most popular thing right now is probably Next.js and SvelteKit. Nuxt is really cool, and so if I did a series in a stream a few months back where I tested the basics of each of those things, like basically comparing their ecosystems. And Nuxt was just a little too early because they not recently, but I guess a few months back they had only recently gotten to version 3, and a lot of stuff was still waiting on the ecosystem to like update their packages and stuff like that. So I think at this point Nuxt is getting close to like super production ready. So that you might look at Nuxt, especially if you used Vue before. Check out Nuxt. I really liked how you could define API functions, and then they give you a fetch that you use inside your component that actually works both on front end and back end, and does it does the right thing depending on where the code is running. So like if that code ends up running on the front end, it makes a fetch request. If that code is running on the back end, it actually calls your API functions directly. Now I think there's a way to sort of kind of do that with server actions in Next.js, and then also with Svelte, but I haven't played around with those. The way that Nuxt did it seemed like very, very nice. So yeah, Nuxt is pretty cool. I would check that out. And then I've been working with SvelteKit, and it is also very nice. But I think that's the thing, is like if you just get so overwhelmed and lost in all of the possible options, just stick with what you know. Like I think at this point it's so overwhelming. I think we're gonna move because it's a little windy. I don't know how easy it is to hear me. Yeah, okay, I'm way behind on chat. All right, let me catch up. Honda Civic Sean, thank you for the gift. That was very kind. Appreciate that. Yeah, and so Oscar earlier said that Angular is very enterprisey. I would agree with that. But again, like, it kind of forces you to stay organized. Let's see. And then Bob, thank you for the Prime. Welcome in. And what's up, Eli? We are about 2 hours northwest of Denver, Colorado. We're in a region called the Red Feather Lakes. Yeah, I'm mostly caught up on chat. I think there was one other question. Let's see. Yeah, so Mitzik had a question. Got a node question for you. I got the OAuth authorization code flow working. I want to create a profile endpoint to get the user info. However, for some reason, the access token doesn't work. I'm guessing I have to extract the access token so it can be used in another method. Possibly. So typically with the OAuth flow, you'll get back a code. And that code is not the access token. That code can be used to exchange for an access token. And then once you get that access token, it typically is temporary. It'll give you, their endpoint will typically give you back how long that access token is usable for. And they'll also give you a refresh token. So if you need a new token within, like before that token expires, you can use the refresh token to request a new one. But maybe I don't know exactly without seeing some code where you're caught up, but that could be it. Basically, you got the code back, but you now need to exchange that for an access token. And then once you have the access token, you're going to have to read their docs to determine how do you use it to request stuff. So it's very likely that they use bearer auth. So when you request the profile endpoint, you'll need to include that access token in a header, in an authorization header that says bearer space access token. But it varies because some services don't implement the auth header in the exact same way. So you would just check their docs for the profile endpoint. But I think that's basically what you're asking and where you're at, is you need potentially you need to call another endpoint to make sure you get back that access token. And basically you'll know you have it if you're also getting back a refresh token and an expire time. So yeah. And welcome in everybody that that's just joining us, I'm on a short little hike here, exploring around a lake in the Red Feather Lakes region, and I'm also answering any code questions or life questions that you might have. And I think we're still doing pretty good with signal, which is crazy to me, because we are pretty far away from most of civilization. Fascinating. That's definitely not a spot that you should light a campfire, but somebody did. Typically, you want your campfire to be in a fire pit and also away from the woods. So this is extremely dangerous, and this is what causes forest fires. So don't do that. Do not do that. Stick to the fire pits. So Mitzig says, I'm at the point where I received the access token back. I just need to store the access token in a variable to use another app get method for the profile. I see what you're saying. Yeah, so not necessarily in a variable, but potentially in your database. So typically what a lot of systems do, like especially if you're going to be making more requests on the behalf of that user, you actually store the access token and refresh token in your own database. Now, of course, you got to be careful, right? Because if those get exposed, then that access token can be used to do things on behalf of that user. So however you store it, you want to make sure that you have the right protections around it, that like only that user can access that access token in your database. But that's basically how you do it, is you also store the access token and the refresh token and the expire time in your own database, so that way in some other method or some other backend route, when the user makes the request, you then look up their access token and then use that access token to make a secondary request. And what's up, Limotes? Thank you very much for the sub. Yeah, Oscar, this is my first time here. My friend Ched Dev, who I've IRL streamed with before, he found the spot and then booked a group site for all of us. So yeah. Lovely flammable pine needles. Yeah, and that's the crazy thing is like, there's an area very close to here that was actually one of the biggest wildfires in Colorado. So like, yeah, don't mess around with fires like that. And is that exactly Acid Spark? Only you can prevent forest fires. Yeah. Okay, so Oscar says, no, don't share it server side. What do you do then, right? So basically, if you need to make requests on behalf of the user and you need to have that access token, what do you do? What do you do? Personally, like, I would not put that in like a JSON web token, because I've seen that done before. But typically you don't want to put anything secret inside of a JSON web token, because if that gets compromised or stolen somehow, now they have the access token for the actual service you're making the request to, and you don't want to allow that to happen. Which is why you store it somewhere and then make it easily accessible. Now, maybe you don't store it in a database, maybe you put it in like a Redis store or in a place where you also store like session data or something like that. Oh yeah, okay, I see, yeah. Oscar is saying, don't share it in a variable, put it in the database. Yeah, so, and I think that's the issue is, especially like you're building a backend application that could potentially have multiple requests all coming in one after another, right? So, if you stored it in a variable, that variable could potentially not be the right thing when some other request comes in, which is why you want to make sure that you put it in the database and then you specifically pull it out of the database inside the method in the context of the request that's happening for that specific user, if that makes sense. Someone says IRL Code Wars. No, I mean, honestly, the signal's so good out here, I should have brought my laptop, but I don't even have my laptop with me. But isn't this beautiful? Let's just enjoy this little trail right here. Should I switch to the software and game development category? Because right now we're in travel and outdoors. No, I don't have a fishing rod. What's up, Foji? Is it safe here? Here, where I am right now, yeah. It's starting to rain. I might need to put my rain jacket on. But the further you get out into the wilderness, there's actually a lot of trails that go like into the more remote areas. You could come across a bear or a moose, and like moose are actually more scary than bears because moose are gigantic. They're also very territorial. So that's what you're up against is potentially large wildlife that doesn't want you in their space. But typically, if you stay on the trail, you should be mostly fine because a lot of the animals know that, or like because humans are on these trails so often, the animals tend to avoid it. But that's really the only unsafe thing is large animals. It's pretty overcast. This view yesterday was amazing. Like I was here like maybe an hour or two before sunset, and this whole field was lit up. Yeah. Moose are gigantic. Like, so, last year, a moose walked through our campsite. I swear its legs were like 5.5 feet tall. Like, before the body even started, like, its legs alone were like 5 feet tall. Moose are huge. And they're also very territorial. So, like, that's the issue is, like, if you're in their area, they will get you out. They will, like, try to get you out of their area. So, yeah. My friend Laud, who I make music with, and I've gone camping with him before too. He's also a very outdoors person. He told me a story about he went backpacking. So backpacking is when you take everything with you in a backpack and you go hiking. So you have all the food you need, clothes, your tent, everything you would need, you have it in your backpack. You go on a long hike to very remote areas and then you just camp in some of the dispersed areas. But he was backpacking and he was like on some rock that like overlooked some water, and a moose came up, like was probably like 100 feet down, like past the rock, and it started like making moose noises. I don't know what they're called. Like it mooed, like it was making moose noises, and he didn't know what to do. And he made the decision. He's like, all right, I'm just gonna jump in the water and go. So he jumped. The water is extremely cold, and the moose follows him into the water. It's like chasing him down. And his friends are like on the other side of the lake. And Lot is just basically like swimming for his life, but the moose is actually chasing him through the water. And finally the moose like gives up. But yeah, Lot tells me that story, and yeah, he was scared for his life for sure. But he somehow escaped. But he almost got hypothermia because the water was so cold, and he was not prepared to jump into the water. And then he had to go change his clothes, get dried off. Yeah, all right, I'm gonna put my jacket on, my rain jacket. Yeah, it moved. So, actually yesterday, I was filming the sunrise, and in the distance, I could hear like a and I was like, I think that's a moose. I think that's a moose. Yeah, it's sprinkling. The clouds don't look too bad, so I don't think it's gonna get that bad, but yeah. And Premier is asking, am I enjoying my decision to go full-time, to leave my job and go full-time content? I am. Like, so far anyways. Like, I still need to figure out the best way to make a living. I need to make better, more accessible courses that sell more. I need to make YouTube videos that get more views. I need more people to subscribe to me on Twitch. There's a lot I need to do, but I would rather spend my time figuring all of that out than working a full-time job. create a JavaScript framework and then maintain it. You know, I mean, it's not a horrible idea because I think that's something I could do. And I don't think I would create a framework from scratch. I think what I would do is create an assemblage of existing libraries that's like my preferred stack, right? So like, basically make it really easy to build full stack applications with some kind of predefined project generator, or predefined templates, predefined decisions about like what you should use for all the things. I think that's probably what I would do. Yeah, it was just a light sprinkle. It kind of stopped, but I'm ready for the rain. Actually, we should climb these rocks. I look prepared, yeah. I think that's the main thing. If you want to be comfortable hiking and camping, just be prepared. That's all it takes. I'ma still ask, would you say that a portfolio is necessary when looking for dev jobs? I think if you don't have work experience, then yes it is. Because how else is an employer going to know that you know what you're doing? So for a lot of devs that maybe don't have a long work experience, I think honestly, even if you only have like one previous job and you're looking for a new job, you probably still need a portfolio at that point, depending on how long you had that job. But like for me, I don't have a portfolio. And if I were to apply to a job, I would not expect for me to have a portfolio because I have like over 14 years of on-the-job experience. So basically my resume talks about all the things I've done, and in an interview they can ask me about it, and I can describe the things that I've worked on, but it wouldn't make as much sense for me to have a portfolio. So what's a good portfolio project in my view? A good portfolio project is a project that showcases what you're good at, and also showcases potentially the kind of jobs that you want to get, right? So like, if you really want to be a UI designer and like do a lot of like CSS and design work and also like animations and stuff like that, you should have things in your portfolio that showcase that. And if you want to be a backend developer, you should have some really well-written APIs that demonstrate that have potentially like Swagger documentation or Open API documentation. You should have like test suites. Like basically you want to showcase the thing you want to get hired for. Show them listed in fresh spots. Listen, all of those are like unfinished. Here's the thing. If I wanted to, I could polish all three of those things into something that's like production ready in, I don't know, give me 2 weeks for each one. I could do it. But the fact that they've been built on stream is why they're like unfinished, like partial projects. All right, I'm gonna do my best to climb this rock. I can do it. And if I don't do it, it's on camera. now I have to get down. Went down the other way. And then you never saw me again. Yeah, I wouldn't say chat is the problem. It's just that there's like so many expectations, right? So like, I think especially with Listed has taken the path of like, all right, I want to make this thing production ready. I want to make this thing like an example of what a project would look like in the real world, like with testing and collaboration. Fresh Spots was only sort of kind of that way, but the issue with Fresh Spots is everything was so new, we had to write so much from scratch all of the time. And I'm trying to teach all the time, yeah. We have a lot of competing priorities for sure. And Bytherial, welcome in, good to see you. Daniel Dev says, what is forward ref used for in React? I see a lot of component libraries using it. I don't know, I've never used it, but I have used ref. So use ref lets you get a reference to the actual DOM element represented by a virtual DOM node. So for example, if you're writing some React code that needs to integrate with Canvas, you would add a ref to it, so that way inside of like a use effect, you could get access to the actual underlying DOM node that is the canvas, so you can get like the 2D context and other things like that. So a lot of times, excuse me, excuse me, but a lot of times a component library potentially needs to access the underlying DOM element, so it needs access to that ref. And forward ref, I would just have to go read the docs to see how it's different than ref. But if I had to guess, maybe it makes it possible to use the ref of an element, like you forward it to the parent that's referencing a child component or something like that. I don't know, I'd have to look into it. Listen, my backpack is strapped on tight, and then I just went climbing around. There's a lot of gases inside me that needed to escape. Yeah, what's up, Murray? So this is about 2 hours northwest of Denver. Actually, if you go an hour north of Denver, you get to Fort Collins, and then basically go an hour west from there, you're at where we are now. It's known as the Red Feather Lakes region. And there's lots of lakes. And do I know where we're going? We're just going around the lake. Honestly, it's kind of amazing how beautiful all of this is. And we're actually not too far from the campground and from the lake. So yesterday I went on a hike that went through there. Actually, I'll show this because it's pretty funny. Well, not funny. It's interesting because essentially, like, there's some wildlife that they don't want escaping from that fence. Like, it prevents a lot of the wildlife from getting into the campground, essentially. So if you're going on a hike, they have gates like this set up. And what's up, Lakshman? Welcome in. If you want to go on a hike, the trail is that way. And if you're on a mountain bike, you can just roll over that. But if you're walking, you open the gate. And then make sure to close the gate behind you. Oh, there's a spider. But yeah, you close the gate, so basically it makes it harder for wildlife to migrate towards the campsite. But there's a really cool hike. I got a bunch of footage of it. I'm going to edit it together into a YouTube video. Show you some of the hikes that we went on yesterday. But we're basically just headed around the other side of the lake right now. And earlier I was over here and I saw an eagle perched on top of a rock. So they might still be there because they seem to just be chilling. Straight chilling. No, so this is very specific campsites that you have to reserve, and they actually have electric hookups. So it's car camping and RV camping. Like, most of the people around us are camping in RVs, but our crew, we all just have tents. But the campsites have a fire pit, a bear box, a picnic table, and an area to park like 4 cars, and then also like an electric hookup if you need it. So, other side of the lake, it's like basic camping stuff. But if you hike that trail, basically, I think maybe 2.5 miles in, there's actually some dispersed campsites. So you can backpack there, but I think there's also a way to get there by car. So if you don't want to hike in, you can park by car, and then maybe you have to hike like a half mile or so to get to those campsites. But those campsites don't have any hookups. That's known as dispersed camping. Also, this campsite has what are known as vaulted toilets. So there's no sewage system. It's basically like a giant hole in the ground, but it's you can use the restroom there, which is nice because you don't have to like go dig a hole in the woods. Oh, that's cool to hear, James. Yeah, in most of the U.S., you have to be very careful where you camp. Like, I mean, you need to make sure that if you want to just, like, it is not legal to just pitch a tent right there, because this is not an area for camping. It needs to be explicitly labeled as a wilderness area or dispersed camping, or explicitly labeled as a camping site. And also in the U.S., we have what's known as BLM, or it's land managed by the Bureau of Land Management. And a lot of times that's like open space, and you typically can camp most places in that open space, but it has to be clearly labeled that way. All right, this is our crossing because the trail's a little muddy over there. The other thing is, if you are doing dispersed camping or like wilderness camping, you have to be, I think, at least 100 feet from any water source. So you're not supposed to camp like right next to a river. Like, it looks like this is the spot where we start to lose connection, but we'll be back near civilization soon, so maybe it won't be too bad. Yeah, what's up, Kevin? So if you didn't see, I asked on Twitter if you had code questions, and this morning I went on a hike and I answered all the code questions, but one of the questions was, Adam.dev asked it, how does he convince they should take his son camping? And I was like, it's like a real life video game, right? Like, look how beautiful this is. You play games, you see cool stuff. That cool stuff is based on the real world. So come check it out in person. I mean, obviously, it's not always comfortable. Like, I'm on a hike right now, so I'm a little bit out of breath, a little bit winded, but that's okay. But look at this lake. Look at this lake. Like, it's a real life video game. What's up, Zirian? Welcome in. Oh yeah, and then, yeah, so I am using a gimbal, which makes the camera super smooth. So I'm in Colorado. I'm in an area called the Red Feather Lakes. It's about 2 hours northwest of Denver, Colorado. It's about an hour west of Fort Collins, if you've heard of that. But yeah, I mean, there's so much cool hiking and camping in the Colorado area, and a lot of it will remind you of a video game. Because, like, there's a lot of red rocks, which are rocks that have iron in them. But when you see those, you're reminded of like Red Dead Redemption, and like also like the Old West, like any sort of like cowboy movie or cowboy video game. It absolutely reminds you of all that. And then, I mean, this is just fields and everything. I'm using a Pixel 6. And then there's like a little creek or stream down there. But I will say, this is probably, I mean, this is my first time to this area, but I can only assume that it's not normally this green. We've gotten a very uncharacteristic amount of rain in Colorado the past month or so. So a lot of places are super green. There's like flowers everywhere. Yeah. This is where I saw the eagle earlier. Doesn't look like he's on this side. I was thinking we could scramble these rocks. I don't think I can with my big pack on though. Now that's what I call coding garden. Yeah. We'll get some up close of these flowers. Those rocks blocked our connection. I think that's the one issue with like hiking around rocks. Some of them have like iron in them or other metals. It's like a Faraday cage. It blocks the it blocks the connection. Yeah. Oh, buddy. I don't know if it came off. I don't know if you saw it on the camera. I guess we're back again. So, I'll just leave on this rock. Yeah, I think I'm going to turn around because these rocks are really blocking. Honestly, all right, we're going to walk a little bit into the trail along the lake. If it cuts out again, I'm just going to turn around because I know for sure this other side has really good signal. But let's see. Yeah, honestly, I think I'm just gonna end it here because I'm on the other side of the lake. It's gonna be like 20 minutes before we get to the side that has signal. So I think we're just gonna end here. If you missed the VOD, sorry about that. Definitely check out the VOD. I was answering code questions. We were kind of just walking around, but we're actually in a area of Colorado called the Red Feather Lakes. So we're about 2 hours northwest of Denver, Colorado. But I'm going to end it here. I need to get all the way over to that other side of the lake back to my campsite. And apparently the signal's real bad. So I'm going to end it. Thanks everybody for tuning in. And next stream is planned for Friday. So we'll see you on Friday. And be on the lookout for a YouTube video as well. So I took a bunch of footage while I was camping, and I'm going to edit it all into a video. All right, everyone. We'll see you. Have a good one. And stick around for the raid. Oh, yeah. Is it the 4th of July today? It is. Happy Independence Day, everywhere. Yeah, if he's live, I absolutely will. I'm never live when he's live. Though, all right. And see you later, Few Bits and Andrew and Ice Cream Tango and Mark D. Hurst and Lakshman and Salazar and Limotes and Gatun. Appreciate you all. All right. We'll see you.